Thank you. Yeah, it can be very surprising that in 2024, we're still talking about gender disparities. We started this conversation or engagements dating back to 1991. Same issues were raised in 1991. And in most of the time, we're advocating for solutions. There are a number of challenges, number of questions, but we seem not to have solutions. It's because we are not dealing with individuals. We're dealing with rooted systems. How we socialized. Socialization on its own, it's a rooted system because there's a history. There are value systems, the question of morality as to how we see life or how we approach life. And we get to learn these traits from the elders. So it's very difficult to fight against a system of patriarchy, in particular amongst African women. It's there. So we can talk until we are blue. Not that we are pessimistic or we're throwing a towel, but there is a system. So in being solution-driven, we ought to enforce policies. That's how we'll outdo a system. Because something starts as a value, a morality, a normative value. It leads to system, it leads to the law. And for one to change that status quo, you need to reform the laws. One, affirmative action was one of the policies that was quite challenging in workplaces, addressing the disparities and the inequities of the past. It wasn't easy to implement, but they had to come with a policy. It's a pity that as human beings, we ought to be regulated by policy. Now you will have to balance the strength of the policy vis-a-vis what Dinyuko was telling us this morning about the aspect of emotional intelligence. It's a principle, which is good, it sounds, it's practical, it makes sense. But then, is it easily implementable in a patriarchal system? It's a challenge. So my answer will be, wherever there's a need in us having to participate in enforcing a policy or giving ideas, let us be in that space. Talking to ourselves as much, yes, it's fine, we get to be revived, we get to be conscious. Because it says to me, Tendi, you went to your conferences, this is what was raised. What do you do there? Let me find myself in a space where I can influence policy. Do you get my point? Yes. Now, we need to strike a balance. My colleague has just raised a point in that as educators and being managers at workplaces, we are not only managers within the prescript of your schools or the boundaries of the schools, you are managers in your communities. People, they know you're a principal. People, they know that you're a manager. There are a number of expectations from the society. We want you to behave like one. We want you to resolve community issues. People, they think principals have all the answers. It's a legitimate expectation because you deal with human beings and we think you've got all the answers, you can help everybody. But the irony in this aspect, the more we grow, the more it gets to be detrimental. My colleague has raised an issue of her being educated. A number of women here, suppose they've got a number of degrees. If you can go to UNISA for an example, I think Dinyuko as an intellectual and the doctor she's gone, you can gather data and ascertain how many women are graduates. Millions of them, comparatively to males. But you'll find in a position of authority, it's men. You are in the same classroom, you read the same book, you are being exposed to the same lecturer, but if you have to occupy the space, there is a doubt of capacity. Because as female, we are not looked at as capacitated people when they look at us. They look at us from the point of being incapacitated, then later they'll have to prove to themselves that in actual fact, Dinyiko is capacitated. So there's a struggle of perception that we still have to deal with. Before presenting yourself, you're still dealing with the perception. To say, we ought to be empowered, we ought to be educated. Then you wonder to say, but the other gender, it's automatic that they qualify. That's a perception. I talked about the system, I talk about now the perception. And if perception is not corrected, it remains a fact. How do we then get to be in the space in having to change the mindset and perception to say, I am capacitated before you look at me as incapacitated person. So that's another struggle that we're fighting with. But then, having these degrees, it becomes a barrier at home. Don't think you're a principal here. Don't think you're a manager here. Don't think you're a lawyer here. So I'm not your student or a learner. I'm not your subordinates being the educators. So it is struggle of the whole world. And mind you, the more we push, so I'll be done. Okay, the more we push this issue of us being empowered, it gets detrimental because now there's a change in terms of gender roles. Women are getting more empowered even financially comparatively to men because as we affirm women, we're leaving men behind. And that it becomes a reverse psychology in them being more angry towards women. So it's a good legislation in having to empower women. But then at household, at the domestic level, it causes a lot of chaos. A number of women are now exposed to have tenders, to be consultants like Dinyiko's. And the man is stagnant in the same position because obviously when we go for interviews, in other corporate levels, they're very strict in terms of parity. And then your man remains there and you are getting higher. So there's a change in terms of the purse. And we're socialized in that whoever has a bigger purse, that is the one who's in control. I'm not saying it's correct, but that's how we're raised, that our fathers, they've got money, they're in control. That is why our mothers were abused. But now it's a reverse, where women have money, but they're still not in control. The more you try to raise your head as an educator or SMT to say, but I'm earning more money now, I suppose we need to change the location. The man says, but I'm still a man. But your standard of living has changed, and you want to showcase as well. I've been studying, I've been working hard, I've achieved certain things, my lifestyle ought to change. But the man says, no, but I'm in control. So you are doomed to study, you are doomed to not study. So we don't know. We were actually in a limbo to say, but what is it exactly that we should be doing? And we can't use force. It's a question of us having to accept ourselves as who we are. But let's create a space for the younger generation. But now, the challenge we have with the younger generation, they're materially orientated, wanting to accumulate, wanting to possess material. And their thinking is that a man can do that, they can't do it for themselves. So we're still breathing the same society in terms of dependency. So I suppose it's a question of us remaining who we are. I tried the strategy of changing my voice as well. I really tried. I was just telling my colleague here. Yes, on stage I had dreadlocks because I just wanted to look like a boy, so that people could actually take me seriously. Because when you try to put on a lipstick, they think like, oh, she's just a lovely girl who doesn't have any brains. And they don't take you seriously, which is very sad. But we don't have to change our own being to suit in a particular environment. It's a question of us to say, let's remain and apply the skills that we're taught this morning. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think that gave us a lot of fruitful thought. Well done. I had another hand over there. Here you go, ma'am.
Colleagues, good day. The previous speaker has mentioned quite a number of things. I'm Ms. Thulile Mbonambi. I'm from KZN. I'm with my colleagues here, the members of the SMT. I'm the principal of Etubaletu Primary School. Colleagues, it's very, very hard. Fortunately for me, in my SMT, it's the 4 of us who are females and 1 male, which makes my work very easy. However, if we do encounter challenges, we sit together as the SMT, we plan the programs to develop staff. And we also ensure that we look at the legislation, like the revised PEM document of 1996, the Employment of Educators Act 76 of 1998, before we even start everything. However, there are challenges, and colleagues, believe me, in KZN, it's very hard. The issues of the SGBs, these traditional men, because most of them, the chairpersons are men, you'll find themselves that if you're in a meeting, they'll tell you what to do as the principal. As short as I am, because I'm short, it's not that I'm young. But then we try to make some workshops based on South African Schools Act, of which they do not even understand what the SASA is. Then we want you to do things the way they think things should be done. However, if you tell them about these acts, they will say, you know, this girl, Lentombazana, is telling us about policies. And you tell them that I'm the only one that will be charged if something wrong takes place. Colleagues, we try as the SMT. The enrollment is very huge where I'm working. It's about 987 learners. I've been looking at the triple D right now, and I've seen that there are some other things that are not done correctly by the admin clerk. But then the other challenges I've encountered since I've arrived there is the issue of us being women. We become jealous of one another. That is very true, colleagues. We tend to undermine one another. As a result, in the school where I'm currently working, we are only having 4 males. All of them are supportive, very supportive. But then when there is a sabotage, it will come from the females. Colleagues, let us support each other as women. Let us be bold. I'm very bold. They even know me. Even if it's a parents' meeting, I stand bold and say whatever according to the policies, as what the advocate has mentioned. And colleagues, one other thing that will also help us to overcome these challenges will also be the team building exercises, where we'll get to know each other. Maybe we take a weekend off, and then we get to understand the ideas that teachers are having. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. Looking at the time, it looks like we've got about 10 minutes left. I've got one person over here, and what I'm going to do then is hand back to the 2 ladies in the panel discussion, Sylvia and Taniko, and ask them for their final thoughts on the topic that we are discussing. Thank you.
Good day, colleagues. I just want to say a few points about leadership as a female. One thing that I would suggest is for us as women to stick to our femininity. We are females, we are women, we must embrace that. Just because we are leaders, it does not mean that we must forget that we are females. That's another reason why men take us for granted, because they feel like we want to be men. No, we don't want to be men, we want to be women who are leaders. We must be in touch with our feminine side, because it makes us good leaders, because we are emotional beings. We must never move from being emotional beings just because we want to be like men. Because when you're an emotional being, it's easy for your fellow colleagues to come to you whenever they've got a problem, because they know that you will understand because you are a woman. There is nothing wrong with understanding what a colleague is going through. That is our strength. We need to understand each other in the workplace so that we can be able to cater for each other. Another thing that I wanted to say is that whenever you take up a step and become a leader as a female, you need to stand in front of your team. Make sure that you make your vision clear. They must know what you are about. They must know where you want to take the school. If you make your vision clear, it's easy for them to follow your vision, because now you make them a part of that vision.
You are not the only one who will be driving the vision, but now you are going to work as a team because you understand each other. That's another thing. Sometimes people will be working against you because they don't know what is it that you want to achieve. So that's why you must be clear with what you want to achieve and where you want to take the school. Another thing that I wanted to say, make use of networking and mentorship. Have a life coach, as Mem said, that it is important to have a life coach, it is important to have someone that you can speak to, it is important to have people who have been in the same road that you are working with experience so that they can be able to help you. And it is also important as a young leader to look at the old people who've been in the system. There is a lot that they know.
Yes.
Don't take them for granted. Don't say that they are old, they are just PL1 educators, they are not moving, they are not becoming HODs or principals. There is a lot of that they know that they can assist you with. So please make them your friends. Thank you.
Beautiful, wise words. Right. I would like to thank all of you for the wonderful remarks, comments and questions that you posed. And now I'm going to ask Sylvia and Taniko just to give us a little bit of a summary, a takeaway, a key point that we can take away from this panel.
Thank you, ladies. What a beautiful conversation. And I think you actually summarized everything that we were about to speak about, which is quite good. And I just wanted to highlight the fact that the society, as Advocate has mentioned, we are also moms that are also raising boys, right? So we also need to be very intentional when we are raising our own sons and teach them to embrace women as well. We need to, I'm a boy's mom, I only have 2 boys. We need to teach them and make them aware of the challenges that the society is facing. Because those boys, whose children are those? Those men that are abusing other women, whose children are those? They have their own moms. So we need to be aware and very intentional on a day-to-day basis as we're raising our own sons. Because like Advocate is saying that we have advanced women so much and left men behind. So let's be aware of that and make sure that as we're raising our own children in our own homes, we make sure that they are aware of that. Campaigns in your schools. Do a lot of campaign awareness in her honor for boys to be vigilant, you know, in her honor. Teach them to be gentlemen to the girls that they are. So run campaigns at school. Be creative. Be creative to solve the problems of the society. Design thinking. How do we then alert our children, the boys that are at school, how do we let them know what is happening? Run campaigns in your honor. Today it's Tuesday in the social media, because they're so much into social media, right? Social media says Tuesday is Choose Day, we choose women. Do something like that. Wednesday it's Women Crush Wednesday. Make it interesting for them so that you speak their own language that they understand. Be creative enough. Don't be left behind and think you talk to them the way we're talking like that. Do things that are active, that involve them. The message will sink, you know, because those are the things that are important. I like what she said about our femininity. Let's embrace it. Let's embrace the fact that we are female. We are best leaders, I must tell you. We're very good in what we do. That's why we are moms. So when you get to work, use that to your advantage. Embrace your femininity. Stand, wear your highs or your sneakers. It doesn't matter. But just make sure that let them know that you are a female and they should embrace how you are, you know, as a woman. And the system as it is, I just wanted to highlight it that the system doesn't allow us to be emotional, but we are emotional beings. So let's use it at our advantage. Take the emotional intelligence that you have learned, integrate it with your personality. You become the best leader in town. And you become the best principal, like they are saying, because you're incorporating all the aspects, your emotional intelligence, your mental intelligence, and make sure, because those are the things that make you a good leader. So use that to your advantage and embrace your femininity. You'll be the best. You wouldn't be bothered about, now I need to project my voice like this and that and that. You will just be you and work like any other person. Thank you. Thank you.
Well done, that was beautiful. Sylvia, and your last words?
Okay, thank you so much. I want to share a little story with you as a closing, so we can take that maybe as a takeaway. I did a workshop 3-4 years ago with one of the companies I work with in trailblazers. And while there, I think we were doing positive discipline for children. And this one principal stood up in that meeting and said to me, Sylvia, one of the strategies I use with dealing with my children or my staff or everybody else is I am intentional about exercising my duty of care. I care as a woman first. I show it that I care. And in application, what they did in that school, which is something very beautiful, I'm still trying to think of how to bring it to my own school, is they adopted a child. Yes. The entire staff adopted a child in the school. One child annually gets adopted. They don't take the child away from their home. They adopt them in the school environment. So a teacher, you'll find a teacher in the school is responsible for buying that child's school uniform. Sometimes bringing them lunch, but it's in agreement with the parents and all of that, of course. And she said in exercising that, and they had a stock fair going throughout the year, where they were popping just $50, nothing more than that. $50 every month, and at the end of the year they do Christmas hampers for these children. So each child has got something to take home. So what happens is the mind shift where the children are looking forward to be adopted the following year. So ideally, whether women or not, people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah. So if we are not going to go back into our schools, back into the system and show, yes, you are oppressing us, yes, there's patriarchy, yes, all of these issues that have always been here, it's getting better though. Because here I am as a principal. For me, it's getting better. Because we are getting some positions, but within these positions we are getting, can we not then be ourselves? Bring the caring element into a school. Bring, whether your people are going left, right, or center, be that center they can rely on in terms of, I care about the education of the little ones. I care about my staff. I care about the education system at large. Yeah. And because I care, my contribution towards it will show that I care. And as a woman, it starts with us. I cannot find them going through so much pain in giving birth, and we find every other little trivial thing painful. It just doesn't go well with me. So let's, as a takeaway from me is, let's go and show that we care. It takes a little effort sometimes, and it can bring wonders to your space. I thank you.
Beautiful. Well done. I think, ladies and gentlemen, a lot that we can take away from this talk today is that the power lies in being uniquely ourselves. Not to move away from being the feminist, being the emotional being, obviously with emotional intelligence, just not going on and have no filter. But there's a big, big secret in it, that if you are uniquely yourself, Whether that's male, whether that's female, the strength is with you. Like we were saying, if we have gone through childbirth, what would we, at the end of the day, think about other challenges, right? So we can do this, and we can do this together. And there's so many mentors, there's so many leaders. I remember Sylvia saying very, very early on that we're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Let's remember that. The lady over there was saying that there are many older, experienced teachers around us. Let's learn from them. And like Tanika was saying, we are the mothers of those boys. So it starts with us. Yeah? Right, so I think this was a wonderful discussion. I want to thank you two ladies so much. And I want to thank the audience for all your valuable input. We've heard from the advocate today as well, and the lady here in front. Thank you for sharing your story, for being vulnerable and giving us of your time and insight into your life. It is just amazing to have this room full of people. And now, on that note,
your presentation was very insightful today. And we would like you to please give our delegates a takeaway on multiple intelligences pertaining to leadership, please.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. It's very important as leaders to incorporate all the intelligences, as I explained to the ladies, the spiritual intelligence, the emotional intelligence, the physical intelligence, financial intelligence, because that's how we capacitate ourselves. And once we capacitate it, we make a good leader, because it affects the other areas of our leadership spaces, whether it's our team or the society where we're working and the other stakeholders that we're working with. Yeah.
Are you by any chance available as a consultant to our schools? And those who might be interested in using your services from here?
Yeah, I'm very much available because what I did today, I just gave it, I spoke on a very high level. I didn't really go into detail in terms of, for example, like your design thinking, your emotional intelligence. There's quite a lot that has to be done, especially for educators. You need to assess where they are and then move them from where they are to the next level. But that requires a more detailed workshop. So I am available to do that through you.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for coming through today.
You're welcome.
We appreciate you.
I loved it here. Oh, yes, thank you.